Lesbian groups are being banned from female-only spaces in a bid to include men who identify as women, report claims. Oh no! Anyway, the gay women's said to be meeting in secret to stop events being invaded by men. Oh, wow. You mean you're forced to do the same thing you've been forcing us to do for years? Oh, if you want the good stuff, you have to go underground? Oh, my God. That is just tragic. The research featured women's testimonies in a survey about single-sex spaces. Well, no, shouldn't this be illegal? So if men aren't allowed to have their men-only spaces, why are women even allowed to do this? It reminds me of that story about that failed, some advertising or production company that they advertised themselves as being an all-female company and they only hired women. Could you imagine the reverse of that? Imagine an all-male company. How long would they last before they get sued into oblivion? If a company flat out came out and said, we only hire men, they would be bankrupted by civil rights and discrimination lawsuits. But it's okay if it goes the other way around, right? Well, it was okay until our strong and independent sisters in the trans movement decided to be seen and heard. Lesbian groups are being banned from female-only spaces and draft to include men who identify as women, according to a new report. So gay women are being said to meet in secret to stop their events being invaded by men who are attracted to females and claiming to be lesbians. Claiming to be? What's that bigotry? If I identify as a woman and I'm attracted to women, that makes me a lesbian. And if you disagree, maybe you should be sued for civil rights and discrimination violations. So the research by feminazi campaign group Sex Matters featured women's testimonies as part of their Airstrip One-wide survey about single-sex spaces. Of course, they should have just said female spaces. Is there even such a thing as a male space anymore? No, entitled Lesbians Without Liberty, How the Airstrip One Denies Freedom of Association to Women Who Love Women, the paper comes at a time of increased debate about female-only spaces. Well, unless male-only spaces are allowed to exist too, female-only spaces should be illegal. The end of discussion. Either give men our spaces back or you can't have yours either. And I love this too. Denies freedom of association. Oh, wow. That sounds like something a sexist, racist would say to justify not wanting to associate with trans people. You see where this is going? This is how freedom of association was lost. Once it became illegal to basically say, I don't want to associate with a certain type of people, that was the end of freedom of association. Now that you supported it back then, by the way, but now that it's come for you, not as funny anymore, is it? I mean, it's funny for me, but not for you. In a forward, S&P politician Joanna Cherry warned lesbians are being forced back into the closet because we've been told we cannot meet or socialize without including men who identify as women. And you expect us to feel sorry for you because you're a bunch of transphobic bigots? Yeah, cry me a river. No, Maya Forstater, director of Sex Matters, said that women's have reported how book clubs, discos, and drinking nights have disappeared. Aww. This almost reminds me of how male spaces and hobbies were invaded and destroyed back in the day by a lot of these same women that are now complaining that it's happening to them. Tragic. She added, this is mirrored online as lesbian dating sites include men who claim they are women. That's a very transphobic thing to say. They are women, you bigot. So those who try to state a preference for biological women get thrown out. Good. This is what you wanted. This is what you supported. But just like when it comes to censorship, everyone supports it when they think it's going to be them doing it to everyone else. And then it turns out it's done to them. All of a sudden, they're against it now. Funny how that works. That's what's happening here. The same policies that a lot of these women supported when it was being done to men are now being used against them, and they're not too happy about it. So a report suggested lesbian groups are admitting transgender women in a bid to prevent discrimination under the Equality Act. Yeah, and this is how things change, by the way. Once men start doing the same thing women do and start demanding access to their spaces and suing if they're not given it, that's when things change. Campaigners are urging the government to clarify the law to protect everyone's rights. No, you don't. You only want to protect women's rights. Not once have they mentioned men's spaces or men's rights. Nah. The accounts are anonymous, and one described how her now underground lesbian circle has been invaded by men since current year minus 13. Yeah, I don't need to beat this dead horse anymore. All I'm going to say is welcome to the club. It's the club you built. I hope you enjoy living in it. And I'm just glad they came to the same conclusion I did. Like, this literally is the only solution. You have to go underground, invite only. Yes, that's going to limit your growth, but it's the only way to protect yourself. Miss Forstater added, these are the stories you'd think you'd hear from countries in the dark ages of gay rights. And guess what? You brought it on yourself. So to end this off, I bet the L's and G's and B's are having second thoughts about associating with the T's now. Because there is no L or G or B anymore. It's all about the T, all according to plan. And I bet there's a lot of based guys that are taking advantage of the system right now. Because they've pretty much been told, oh, if you're a guy, you're treated like shit. You're the cause of all the world's problems. Then you look out and you get to see women getting all sorts of preferential treatment. And then the trans movement happened and you realize, hey, wait a minute. So I can become a woman and get the same preferential treatment, huh? Oh, actually, you know what? It's even better because trans women are held above biological women. That's when the happy merchant impression comes in. Oh, man, payback time. I'm going to use the system you built and weaponized against me and turn it right back around you now. I look forward to seeing more of this in the future, too, because it's inevitable now. And look, already this is different than at any time in the past. Any other time in the past, if women came crying to men like, oh, it's not fair that we have to compete against men. Like, look, I'm a weak, delicate little flower, and you expect me to go into an MMA match with that 300-pound dude? It's like, come look, are you trying to hurt us? You got to protect us. Like, if women came crying to men, like, well, why is it okay for men to go into our bathrooms and snuggle us in schools? What's going on here? If this was any other time in the past, you would have a legion of simps marching to fight for Milady. That's not happening now, is it? Yeah, now you're seeing the opposite. Yeah, now you see all these men are like, first off, this is what you wanted, so you deal with it. Second off, I'm not going to be labeled a transphobe. I'm not going to stop these strong, independent, stunning, and brave trans women. I'm part of the solution, not the problem. You're on your own. We are definitely living in interesting times. And it's only going to get more interesting from here.